lie. No more hidden verdicts, no more secrets sold. Every voice is a weapon, every story be told. Innocent till proven guilty, that's our final decree. Under this constitution we stand forever free. Phoenix in the dawn, truth ignites the sky. Together we stand tall, no more asking why.
Well, hello all you beautiful nesters out there. I'm just laughing. Today's September 9th, 2025. Happy Tuesday, every single one of you. It's Taco Tuesday. That's what we're having here. And, you know, some days I don't have my act together. And this is one of these days. So welcome in all you nesters. I see quite a bit of you that were here early. I've got, let me just say hello to all of you. Critic Rick 66. Hey, Les, good to see you. Don Rosa, Lulu Bell, hello. What a wonderful afternoon it is for our civil freedoms intact. No orange jumpsuits with big numbers and big initials on the back. I hear you, Lulu Bell. Christine, thank you, Phoenix, for all your work. Hard work time. Free Brian. Absolutely. We've always said if he is factually innocent, free Brian Koberger. If not, he can rot in that prison. That is always what we've said, and we've always believed that. Pokey Dots, welcome in. Les, welcoming, and everyone else. And Holly, good to see you. Nesties are the besties. I would agree. Dina, welcome in. One sunny day. I like that name. You are welcome here anytime. Bring your sunshine and your goodness with you. Eyes wide open. Hello, everyone. Rebecca, hello, sweetheart. Jackie Bushable. Hello, beautiful. Jackie, where are you tuning in from? Tacos, you got it. It's a beautiful day. Absolutely. That's why we relate to you. We don't have our acts together either most of the time. I hear you, Holly. Kind of funny. Woo woo. Jackie, thank you so much for that super sticker. We appreciate that. All right. So who is ready to get the show on the road? What is this? I've got mashed potato. What does it say? We're having tri-tip and mashed potatoes. Jethro, what time is dinner? I will be on over. Ohio in the house. Yeah. You know, it's been a while since I asked everyone where you're tuning in from. Just drop it below. Where are you tuning in from? I don't know why I was so little. Dana, Donna, Lisa, whoop, whoop, Nikki, New Zealand, beautiful. Beautiful. Gypsy, hey, Gypsy. Welcome in. Kelly, welcome in. Netherlands, you freaking win. You win today. Texas, love it. Kansas in the house. Idaho in the house. Rhode Island in the house. Whoop, whoop. All right, G Mort. Michigan. Woo, it's college ball season, guys. Yep, Tennessee, Indiana. All right. Welcome in, everyone. I can't keep up with everyone. That's okay. Just welcome on in. Come on in and we will, evening from Texas. Hey, Tommy Boy Charm. Or is it Arm? All right, guys. Let's get the show on the road. I'm sure you guys have been ready for this one. You know, I'm combing through these documents. There's about 1,000 reports to go through. And some things just catch my eye. Well, there's a lot of creators out there focused on just one or two things. And I always share what I find. There's no gatekeeping here, right? And when you find something that's like, OMG, you won't guess this one. I'm sure some of you have heard the wild rumor that, well, let me get into it. I want to give you, you know, the real story isn't what the police told us. I think we've all figured that out. What's in the autopsies kept hidden for 2 freaking years. Yes, the autopsies kept hidden for 2 years. Well, who performed those autopsies? A Dr. S. in Spokane County Medical Examiner. Hey, Amanda, I hope you're having a better day today than yesterday. She said she fell asleep and she woke up. So, obviously, the real story isn't what the police told us, because they said that they were sleeping. All the roommates were asleep, and then they fought back. Well, how can you fight back in a fighting match or a duel with 50 stabs and 20 something stabs? And how is that even possible? And it was used, a large knife was used, a homicide, likely asleep, no sexual assault. Well, what the frick? And then we find out all these unsealed documents, 50 stab wounds for Xana, defensive injuries, struggle in her room. And then we've got Kaylee, 20 stab wounds plus blunt force, asphyxial injuries. And then Ethan and Madison were sharp force trauma consistent with the same weapon. Well, how the hell is that? How the heck is that? Yeah, they fought back from under their covers. And that's why I say, is this a covered up? Just like they were covered up? Now, remember this. Defensive wounds, not all victims were passive. That means they fought like hell. And there's a video I made, just a really quick video. I couldn't imagine how hard Xana and Kaylee fought for their lives. Okay? Obviously, they were the two that were more likely to have fought per the autopsies. But the autopsies left some hidden clues, even without us not seeing the full autopsy notes. And here's something that caught my eye. Yes, absolutely, Michelle. Right here. The clavicle wounds, it's in the documents that I'm about to show you. I mean, those types of wounds, very, very combat, hunterish, somebody with some swift movements. I'll tell you, trained, possible. And, it's not like we're looking for ex-military folks. I think the knife sheath with the USMC on it was possibly to make it look like they were somebody that was ex-military, or at least highly skilled in hunting, or highly skilled to know points on a human, like a doctor almost, of severe injuries. Isn't that crazy? I made a video. I'm sure y'all have seen it. And if you haven't, I will play that for you. Will I play that for you? Should I play that for you? Have you guys seen that video? Well, a minute. Let me just play it so we are all on the same page. I'll do that for you. Because sometimes some people just don't have the time to go and find search videos and all that good stuff. So I'll play it real quick for you. Let me grab it and put it up there, and let me blow this up so you can see it easier. And here we go.
Let's talk about all the oddest things that we've heard in this case that are just not true. And I'll start. This Moscow Police Department basically states that they got the DNA profile, they flew it to Houston to Othram, but the police department in Moscow says this DNA profile was collected from...
What did I do? I clicked out of it. Oh, goofy me. Hold on one second, guys.
Okay, let's talk about all the oddest things that we've heard in this case that are just not true. And I'll start. This Moscow Police Department basically states that they got the DNA profile, they flew it to Houston to Othram, but the police department in Moscow says this DNA profile was collected from a knife sheath which was found by ISP investigators from District 2 during the initial search of 1122 King Road on November 13th. The sheath had been transported to the lab by ISP troopers. Okay, so ISP is the one that found the sheath. And it says that it was transported to the ISP lab. Right there. Right freaking there. Well, when was it transported? Because obviously, per the records, it was booked into evidence on November 14th by the Moscow Police Department. So right here, the knife sheath, item 11, was logged in on 11/14/22. Right there. Most of the evidence you'll see was logged in on the 14th. Indeed, there was a Kershaw knife, which is one of these, and then a steak knife, which is one of these. And then you can see knife sheath. Now, here's the interesting part. And the other mysterious fact is sequence 265 basically was written on 3/21/24, an account of the actual night of 11/13. There was a little issue with 11/12, but that's in another video. But 11/13 says at 2015 hours, which is 8:51, I'm sorry, at 20:51, which is 8:51 hours, I responded to 1122 King Road. I was asked to maintain a scene access log, check. Blank arrived on the scene. 2 of the victims were prepared for transport. Captain Lanier advised he wanted a marked patrol to escort blank to the funeral home. So 2 of the victims were prepared for transport that night at 8:51. Then he goes on to say, Officer Morris arrived on the scene and relieved me at the door. I handed Officer Morris the scene access log. I escorted him to the funeral home. I stopped the recording on my body camera while driving at approximately 9:30. I reactivated it at 9:37 hours at blank. I remained at blank as 2 of the victims were offloaded. I deactivated my body cam at approximately 9:45. Is that right? 9:45. Okay. So 2 of the victims were prepared to go to the funeral home. It doesn't have any other information in these reports that the other 2 were prepared and went to the funeral home. What? What? Wait a minute. Has anyone else found the other reports where the other 2 victims were transported to any funeral home or what? I'm so confused. Don't bodies usually go to the coroner's office? Why did they move them to the funeral home? Anyone? I'll wait for an answer. Be well.
Okay. So, typically they do take individuals' bodies to the mortuary, well, not the mortuary, but the coroner's office. Don't they normally? I mean, I just think it's odd because then a couple of days later, they state in this report right here that I'm going to share with you. I won't read word for word, but it does specify that. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger for you guys. Hopefully that works. Okay. So, this is what's written in the Moscow Police Department notes. This is a supplement number 32, and Danny Vargas wrote this on 11/21/22. And this was, I don't know, gosh, count the days after the 13th. So a couple of days have passed, right? Yes, Patty, they did state that they got a second autopsy. They did. So there's no way they just left them in the house, right? No, I don't think so. I don't think so, but I'll get to there. Hold on one second. You guys are too smart, by the way. So, and I know you guys are asking questions. I'm watching the chat. And yes, I've done some videos in regards to Othram. I shared where the ISP got the DNA. The chain of custody is broken. I've also explained that. And then they flew into Houston. And I also shared with you the actual court testimony that Payne gave under oath. And it's a cluster F. Okay, guys, I'm just going to tell you that much. It's a cluster. And yes, Moscow Police Department went and got the DNA from ISP, flew it to Othram, and then they said they had this Koberger DNA in less than 5 days. Now, that's a bunch of bullshit. Okay, I'm just going to tell you this right now. Because if it was, in fact, Koberger's DNA, then they excluded all the other DNA and they focused on this knife sheath instead of focusing on what the investigators were already uncovering that would have led them to the actual factual killers. Because now that we know, hindsight's 2020, now that we know Koberger's DNA was not anywhere else and not on any of the bodies, then, well, now what? They let the real killers get away by focusing on on a knife sheath, but on the back of that knife sheath, there was contact blood DNA to indicate a individual was injured during the process. Hence, you see why ISP goes and does a kind of like a dragnet of who got injured and where could they have gone. But they only limited that to the local area. They didn't expand it to where other students from Boise, Caldwell, Nampa, Cuna, all these other places lived. Eagle, Emmett, Garden City, all these other places that people could have went and got assistance from. Even private individuals that could have performed some type of stitches or sewing or anything of that nature on an individual. Now, with that being said, I'm going to get right back on track. I could give you a whole story there. Go back and watch some of my other videos and I explain it really clearly. So, look at two things. The autopsy was reported to happen on November 16th per Danny Vargas. At approximately 7:45 in the morning, the coroner, Kathy Maybutt, and I attended 4 autopsies for Xana, Ethan, Madison, and Kaylee in Spokane. The 4 autopsies were all performed by Dr. V. Singh. Now, this is redacted here, but it all public record. If you go to Pennsylvania and you go to their records on Brian Koberger, they have unredacted some of this information. And this is where you need to be on the hunt and the search for the accurate information to put the pieces together. So the detective with ISP is present, and he observed 3 of the autopsies. Kernodle, Mogan, and let me just say Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee. He arrived after the autopsy for Chapin was performed, Ethan. Okay? Then it goes down to all these swabs. I'm not going to read all this, but pay attention. I'm not going to read all this. Okay? You can go back and you can read what they did during this autopsy. Very intensive, okay? And they spell it out, everything they did, okay, for the autopsy. And I will highlight for them, the authorities, to say there was no sexual assault. I don't know why they would swab every single body part of these individuals. I'm just saying. Now, when you get down to the major crime prints as part of the autopsies, there's prints taken from the victim, yada, yada, yada. And then it specifies, which kind of shocked me a little, it says that Chapin's prints were taken on 11/16 and released to me by TB on 11/16. Kernodle's prints were taken on 11/16 and released to me by E on 11/16. Mogan and Goncalves' prints were both taken on 11/17 in the morning by CL and LE and were left at the medical examiner's office, okay, with blank. On the 17th, I responded to the CME, which is the county medical examiner's office, and collected the prints from Maddie and Kaylee. Okay. So then it says exactly what they've done. And then the conclusion of the autopsies. Okay. Now, obviously, two of them were obviously fighting back. 2 of them may have not. Okay. You can go down and you can read it. But it was said that the weapon that was used was not serrated. And I'm going everywhere. And mind you, I'm just curious in nature. I'm going everywhere looking for a K-bar. And I'm thinking to myself, some of these at the end, they look a little serrated. And just looking, right? Just looking. And I'm seeing, well, was it really a K-bar? it's just really weird, obviously, that it was not serrated. And I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe that's iffy. I'm no expert, but what do I know, right? I'm just curious. So then I go back to the autopsy, and this is just a portion of it. This is not the full autopsy, guys. If we had a full autopsy, it would make probably better sense. And then the whole question about someone had said in her family that they were gouge wounds, right? They weren't just, they were gouges. And I kept thinking to myself, what would cause gouges, right? And so I'm looking a little bit deeper into this, and I'll save that for a minute. But I wanted to go ahead and show you something that really stood out to me in this report. On November 16th, approximately 7:55, I drove to Spokane County, CME, to the FBI office located at Coeur d'Alene. I met with Special Agent Bryant Gunderson. Several of the item clothing collected during the autopsies were still wet and needed to dry in evidence dryers overnight. And I thought, why would they need dryers? And if you look, I know I'm going to sound stupid in a minute. If you look at the evidence, it says dryer, right? And I thought, oh, what was in the dryer at the house? And then I realized, no, it was dryer on the evidence log 1 and 2. They had dryer 2 and a dryer 1. Okay? Dryer 2 and a dryer 1. And I thought, why would they need to put their clothes that were still wet in evidence dryers overnight? Anybody? If you saw if you saw the actual pictures that were blurred out, I don't know about that. I'll have to look into that one. But these evidence dryers look like this. Watch, I'll show you just so you know. These evidence dryers look like this, okay? They're forensic evidence drying cabinets. I think it's like low heat. It's for drying wet evidentiary items. No cross-contamination. It's thermally fused. It creates, basically no bioburden buildup, and it comes with all this great fancy stuff. They're pretty expensive, guys. They can go up to $10,000-$12,000, okay? Yeah, it looks like a dehydrator, a little hydrator for, that's exactly what it looks like. You put them in there, secure dry, everything stays legit. So I'm thinking, why would they need to put these clothes in these dryers? And then it hit me. The big rumor that we've always heard, that what? That something may have happened outside. Something may have happened outside. And when you look at this, we learned those during, the Chris Watts case. When you look at these pictures, obviously, CSI, the dogs were called in. They're looking outside. And if you look at the pictures from the morning of and going into that, I've shared this before about the weather. What was the weather like the day that this happened? You know, we see the snow all around and this and that. And, I don't know about all that. But I'm looking at the evidence photos that we were shared And there was some on the back side, but nothing on the top or the back. Because of the snow made their clothes wet. If they left the back door to open, air out the kitchen, were they wet? Well, according to the autopsy, their clothes were still wet. And if you look at the actual crime scene photos that they've blurred out and they've shared, there's not a lot of blood. There was not a lot of blood. Not a lot of blood. So I'm thinking they dried the clothing items, because it said several of the clothing items collected during the autopsies were still wet and needed to dry in evidence dryers overnight. But guys, let me share the autopsy once again. Okay. It was supplement 32. Let me get back to that document real quick. If you look at the items collected, let's narrow it down. Xana was in bra and underwear. She didn't have any clothing on her. Okay? What did they collect from Kaylee and Maddie? Let me get to supplement 32. Hold on. It basically says everything that was collected from Kaylee and Maddie. Sweats, a shirt. Just when I clicked off of it. Hold on. Let me pull it back up. Let me search another way. Because some of these, okay, here it is. So look at what's collected in dryer 1. Look what was collected. Handbag, t-shirt, corner club, black pants, Joe boxer gray and black flannel, 1 sock. Oh, you can't see that. Let me put it up. There it is. That's what was collected from Kaylee. Madison, short sleeve shirt, pink, pants, black Vandal Russell brand sweatpants, medium. Xana, sweatshirt, underwear. Ethan, handbag, socks. That's all Ethan and Xana had. You can see if you go and you look at the evidence pictures, you can see that, here, let me pop one in here so that you can see. I will grab that really super quick. If you look, Ethan and Xana didn't hardly have any clothes on, okay? Let me see if I got a picture. I hope I have a picture. Let me see. Here it is. Mind you, this is blurred out. Let me go back. Okay. How do I know this is Xana's room? Here's somebody's sweatshirt or pants here on the bedroom floor. And there's the little mascot. Does anybody remember the little mascot that they have? Do you guys remember that? If you don't, I've got something to show you. Let me grab it. Look at this. Watch this video. Let me grab it. Okay. Watch this video. I'll watch it with you. I want to play it slow. The stuffed animal was in a video that she had. I don't want to show the one on TikTok because then I might get some type of violation for showing with music. So I actually made a video with no music so that we can take a peek at this. Because this is very interesting. This video tells a story. And I want you to watch it with me. Let me see if this is it. This is pretty wild, folks. I feel like our videos tell a story. Let me see if this will load. Okay, here we go. Yeah, that stuffed animal. Was it a nanny cam? I don't know, but it was one of those things that was a mystery. Watch this. Now I'm going to play it a little slower in the next clip. Okay. It's going to go slower, hopefully. No, it didn't work. Dang it. Okay. So let me do this. Let me see if I can slow this down because I want you guys to be able to see this. I made 2 videos, one fast because it was on fast play. And then the other one was slower. Let me see if I've got a different one. Let me see. Recording. Let me see if this one works. Dang it. Just when I was hoping that would work. Here it is. All right. This is the video. Let's see if this one plays slow. Now, this one is going to play slow. I want you to pay attention to who's in these videos. Pay close attention. This was Xana's video on her TikTok on 4/26/22. This is when she lived in her old place, and these were her existing friends. Pay attention. Okay, did you guys just notice those 2 individuals? This is the first picture, and these go by so fast. If you don't slow it down, you won't see them. Okay, so the very first picture you see when you slow this video down is Bethany. Okay, that was Bethany right here. And then there's Emily. This is Xana's video. I don't know who that is. Did you just catch that one? This video, you have to play it really super slow to catch these people. Who is that? Remember the faces you see. I'm trying to get it to stop because this video does play really fast. Really fast. Okay. You can go back and watch this video. It's on Xana's TikTok, by the way. You can go back and look. Now, one thing I want to point out to you is look at all the specific people in Xana's video. And who do you not see in Xana's video? Obviously, they didn't know Kaylee, and you don't see Maddie in her video, but you do see other people, okay? You see other people that you cannot unsee, even in the background. And who is this? People were saying that they didn't know each other. Some people were saying they didn't know each other. Not at all. Which blows my mind because here Xana is having this video posted in April of 2022 of all the people she's partying with. And typically you don't party. And I don't know about how the sorority is about mingling with other sororities or cross dating or anything like that. But typically, if you want to date someone within the organization, that's usually okay. But what if you want to date somebody outside of your organization? Anyone? Yeah. it becomes a little more difficult, right? Yeah. I mean, you can go through and look at these people. They're all over the internet. People have shared all kinds of information with them. So you can kind of get an idea of who was in their circle or who was in their friend groups, right? You can get an idea of this. They've left it all out there for us. I just find it really super interesting, some of this video. Okay, and then it starts over. So I had to really slow it because if you haven't seen the video, it is very, very fast. You'll miss half of these people. See how fast it goes? You don't even recognize some of those people until you play it slow. Okay, so my point being is there were so many clues left. So when you see this, that their clothes had to go in the evidence dryer because they might have been wet, that tends to make me believe perhaps something happened outside and not exactly in the home. Okay? Well, we know that obviously some people fought back. So the official narrative that we were fed was, they were sleeping. No sexual assault, a homicide, large knives. But think about this. If the clothing was still wet, it means maybe they mishandled the clothing or outdoor exposure because they needed those big dryers. Evidence drying is, why FBI had to use the dryers before logging it in as evidence, right? They had to dry it out before they logged it in as evidence, because what happens if you don't dry out the evidence and you put it in evidence bags? These things are going to mold. And you have to look at the crime scene pictures. There wasn't much blood in these crime scene pictures, folks, that you were led to believe. You have to look. And Ethan and Xana didn't have very many clothes on. Okay? They didn't have very many clothes on. I just showed you the autopsy reports of what they were wearing. Xana had a sweatshirt and underwear, and Ethan had socks. That was it. That was it. There was not very much blood in that crime scene photo of Xana's bed. Okay? Now, when you look at that, how blood saturation, refrigeration may explain, maybe the defense could spin it and say, yeah, the clothes were wet. And what's missing? We've not seen any reports of blood splatter analysis. Those are sealed. They are sealed. They are sealed. They are not available to the public. And there's a reason. Absolutely, Red Wendy. Absolutely. Right here is the reason. There would be a lot more blood than we see inside the beds. So, were the autopsies changed in the narrative? Is that a possibility? Because obviously we were told they were asleep. So that's the official narrative. They were asleep and it was a quick ambush, right? Very quick. And how does this impact the theories of a lone attacker versus multiple, right? We are speculating based on the information provided, because even two of these people would suggest it was chaotic. There were fights involved here. There were fights. Now, if their clothes absorbed all the blood, Xana and Ethan weren't dressed. Where did the blood go, guys? Where did the blood go? I showed you the picture of the bed. There's not much splatter. There's not much blood. I mean, clearly, this isn't just the first thing they've been secret about. The mattresses that were moved barely had any. So when you start looking at the pictures of why they were doing what they were doing outside, and they were investigating outside, and they brought the dog in for a blood trail outside, and then they were looking continuously outside, what were they looking for? And then across the street, they expanded their search over to Queen Road. We all know that. We know that they expanded the search by all the pictures that we've seen. So when you think, I mean, obviously we are of the hive mind, we're the nesters, but does wet clothing suggest an outdoor incident? Is that even possible? Does Xana's struggle point to more than one attacker? I mean, she was only in a sweatshirt and underwear. I mean, how... guys, I don't even know how to explain this. I mean, I'll show you a picture that I saw in the crime scene photos, and I'm thinking to myself, I wouldn't even go downstairs in the kitchen in my underwear and a sweatshirt, let alone, just a robe or a bathrobe. And I start looking at this photo, and there's things in this photo that don't make sense to me. And I'm seeing lettuce on the floor, fries on the floor, tomatoes on the floor. And I'm thinking to myself, was there an argument or some type of fight in this kitchen? Did it start in the kitchen? And I'm more inclined to believe probably something happened in the kitchen that led outside. And that's just where my mind goes. Was somebody hungry and fighting for food, or did a whole blown attack happen? I mean, discuss how 50 wounds change in your mind a psychology of the attack. How in your mind would this attack happen? Think about it. We don't have a timeline. The autopsies change the narrative. I mean, what's being hidden and sealed in these reports for 2 years, no one may ever see. But they are little tiny tidbits of information left all around for us in these reports right here. There are several clothing items collected during the autopsies. Whose autopsies? The ones that we just reviewed. And the only one that really had clothes on were Kaylee and Madison. And they had to put them in a dryer because their clothes were still wet. Xana and Ethan, the only thing that went in there was socks, underwear, and a sweatshirt that was still wet. Parents never saw the bodies. Well, there's a lot of crazy things in this case. I will say that for sure. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen this. Let's listen to it for a minute. Let's see if it'll load up for us.
I haven't earned the ability to grieve the way that I want to grieve. I want to be able to have justice first.
Oh, man, that was the heartbroken father of a University of Idaho student, one of 4 murdered in their sleep earlier this month. Police now getting ready to release the crime scene once investigators finish examining the site and collecting any evidence. Joining us now, former FBI investigator Bill Daley. Just absolutely heartbreaking, Bill, to hear from that father there who, not only lost his child, but still has no answers and no suspect in custody. How are we here this far out from when this happened?
Well, Sandra, first of all, this is a very complex scene. In other words, what I'm saying here is that it's not something where it's a single family home where you have a couple of, you have a pet and a couple of people living there. This is one that has had multiple people visiting and multiple tenants. Who knows the last time it was cleaned? You have hairs, fibers, fingerprints, maybe other DNA that's around. And for police and forensic experts to sort through this, it takes a while. So this investigative onion, if you will, is taking a while to reveal itself. At the same time, there's no individual suspect that's kind of jumped out either by past behaviors, comments, threats, or what have you, that they kind of be able to kind of focus in on. It appears as though it's someone further back around the orbit of one or several of these people who may be responsible for
So
this.
I was hoping to learn something here when they say they're close to releasing the crime scene. Does that mean that they're close to turning over that house to its owner, assuming the kids were renting from a landlord there, that's it? People come in and clean and this is done? The search inside that house is done?
Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, there could be a reason why, if there's a prosecution moves forward, they need to go back and either take photos or do something else in the home.
Because the cars are still parked outside of the students who were killed.
So what it means, Sandra, is at this point, what they've done is they've contained the crime scene, they preserved it as best they can.
Yeah.
And now they're ready to say, we've collected all the evidence we feel as though we can collect here, and now turn it over to the owners to clean up and put it back into shape.
Correct me if I'm wrong, with the slow release of information from the authorities, which could be a strategy, right, on their part, to protect what they know, to not let on to the suspect that they know the information they have. But there's a lot of rumors out there and a lot of room for speculation. And now these rumors have been debunked by the police there in Idaho, including that red Mustang that was near the scene. They say that was not involved. There was a February overdose death in town. They're saying that was not related. This case, they are saying, is not linked to any other murders. That is interesting to me that they can rule that out without having the suspect in custody. But you tell us in a second. The victims were not tied or gagged, and the dog skin nearby, which we all knew that story initially, is not connected to this.
Now, did you guys just read all that? Did you hear everything that she laid out? Deny, deny, deny.
So tell me your thoughts based on those debunked rumors.
Well, first of all, a lot of those rumors are ones that just been kind of created and floating around. They've never come from some authoritative body. The other crimes that were committed, the ones in Washington and Oregon, they've ruled those out because they've probably looked at the forensic evidence. They've combed through and they've kind of said, no, this does not match the profile. And at the same time, talking about profile, the FBI does have their profilers and their behavioral analysis people involved in this case. So they too have been able to kind of weigh in on what things get ruled in and ruled out. But it is something at this point that is not something that's, we can tell right now, is solved in a 60-minute melodrama television production. This will take a while. The crime scene was probably very complicated, as I mentioned before, about other factors of people being in the home previously, as well as mixture of DNA and separating those.
I've got to leave it there. Are you confident that they'll find the suspect?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
All right, Bill, good to have you on set here today. Thank you very much. All right.
Okay, so they were confident they were going to find the suspect, but I wanted you guys to look at this document. I put in my search engine Pi Beta Pi murders, and this was the very first thing that popped up. University of Idaho victims sororities on probation for health. Look at the title. This is the title that popped up. For health and safety violations. Alpha Pi and Pi Beta Pi at the University of Idaho are on probation for violations or concerns regarding risk management, alcohol, drugs, or hazing. And this was the video that popped up. Former FBI investigator on Idaho murder mystery. Well, this will take a while. Okay? I'm just saying, this is what popped up as the video. And then it says that, yes, these sororities are on disciplinary probation according to the community accountability records. And it says that Maddie, Kaylee, and Xana were members of Pi Beta Pi. I don't know when, but it says they were. And there are 2 listed on probation. These sororities, there's 2 that are listed on probation. All right. That's exactly what popped up when I did a search. It was freaking wild. I had to share that with you also. So there is a lot of misinformation out there. These reports contain hidden secrets such as this. Why were they wet and still needed to dry? Why? There's so much more, guys. This is just the top of the iceberg. I've got so much more. Like I said, I can do content for the next year, but I would love to be able to see some accountability being held. Definitely curious to what else that I found. Make sure that you tune in. I know that there is so much going on. My lives are unscripted. What you get is what you get. If you have not seen the updated website, feel free to go ahead and check that out. It is Justice for All. It's spelled out Fourall. Not Koberger's DNA is the latest document that I did put up there. I know it's tiny, but that is the one from the stipulation that they were going to use in trial, that it was not Koberger's DNA. And also the video, unethical. I just feel it's highly unethical to what Othram is doing, because not only are they wanting your DNA, they will use your DNA to solve crimes or implicate even your future family members. So one of the things that I wanted to point out also on this autopsy is the information provided from, where is it at? Where are you? So the information provided, where did it go? Here it is. There was a report that basically said the autopsies were done on the 17th, when in fact, this report right here says that it was done on the 16th. So that came directly from Moscow. And I had to go look and see what was on the calendar on the 16th. And that was just Wednesday, the 16th. And they said that they were done on the 17th. So which one is it, Moscow? Was it the 16th or was it the 17th? Because obviously all us inquiring minds want to know what happened to this report. Is it even truthful? Or is it just one of those things that they're gaslighting us and wanting us to go down the rabbit hole? I don't know, folks. There's just so much. And don't forget, this was something that I shared too. I don't know if it's any relation to what happened there in Moscow, but they've got some shady stuff going on in this area. This pastor, a deacon actually, was charged with child porn. And he did get 2 years, a $250,000 fine, along with restitution to the victims. He was indicted in federal court April 19th, 2022. And yeah, he's in jail, federal jail. He should be out. But that was something else that was going on in Moscow. So what else? There's a lot. There is quite a bit going on. He obviously did confess. He spoke out after he was charged. You can go and read all the documents you want. And guess who was involved in the investigation? Detective Lawrence Mowry. There's a common thread going on. And if you followed anything that I said about why they wanted Koberger's laptop and what were they trying to perhaps prove or investigate, I don't know if it's connected, but I don't believe in any coincidence. I don't know about you, but I'm still going down this rabbit hole. It's been too long. Somebody needs to be held accountable if it was in fact not Koberger and he is factually innocent. Y'all, so I know there's probably a lot of questions. It reminds me of Newton, Connecticut. Seems like the triple letter agency was involved. They are pointing fingers at each other. Payne says the FBI gave him the tip, but then on the stand, he doesn't know who gave him Kohberger's name. Honestly, thank them for being so corrupt, because if the case was sloppy cover-up and Hitler's ruling, we would have never even known. Absolutely. Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. Took a plea deal, and now we're getting all the documents. You bet, you guys. You enjoy your night. I will bring you another live soon, but I've got some awesome videos that I'm working on. So, as always, I wanted to just share with you real quick on this website, our community website, Justice for All, there is a petition. It is active. And unfortunately, the woman who was signing the petition and having people signed never got back with me, and she is not trying to get this petition actually accepted. I have put a new petition up, and if you want to go read the petition, and I mean, I'm following through. I walk the talk. Let's get this petition signed. Let's get as many as we can to endorse this. I will take it directly to the DOJ, directly to Raw Labrador, and obviously the Department of Justice, because somebody needs to look into this investigation. They need to reopen the investigation, exonerate Brian Kohberger if he is factually innocent, and protect our constitutional rights in regards to this new policing they want to do via DNA. So make sure that you sign this petition, help support that petition. So everyone, as always, if you feel like you want to write the DOJ yourself, you always have that option. There is a sample letter in here in this document. You can download it, you can email it, you can mail it in, send it. It's right on the website, justiceforall.com. Thank you so much. I hope to see you back here tomorrow at 3:45 p.m. Be well.
No more hidden verdicts, no more secrets solved. Every voice is a weapon, every story be told. Innocent till proven guilty, that's our final decree. Under this constitution we stand forever free. Phoenix in the dawn, truth ignites the sky. Together we stand tall, no more asking why.